Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas. This is it's not Christmas yet, but it's going to be. And what I've done is I've decided to take the next few days to focus on Christmas content, holiday content. Basically, because a lot of these things disappear in the off season. I tried to, at one point when we had Home Alone or Home Alone 2 randomly picked on the off season, like last summer. It wasn't on Disney Plus anymore for some reason, even though I knew that it was on there during Christmas time. So, in order to make sure we see everything, I decided to pick a number of Christmas related things during the Christmas season. So we don't have to worry about getting that weird blackout where, like, oh, it's not there anymore. Okay? So, here we go. This is Home Alone. We're going to start out. This is today, tomorrow, and the next day. We're going to do all three Home Alone movies. This one's from 1990. It's an hour and 43 minutes, and this is a classic. This is what made Macaulay Culkin a star. This is he's he plays 8-year-old Kevin McAllister, who is probably the product of an affair his mother had with MacGyver at some point in her young life. Played by Catherine O'Hara, by the way. Catherine O'Hara, she's if you watch Schitt's Creek, she's Moira. She's Moira Rose. So yeah, I just finished watching that series myself. I'm a little bit late on that, but she's great and just gorgeous, and she is the beleaguered mom who discovers a little bit too late that she's left her son home alone. And Kevin, as much as you'd think he'd be a little bit upset being by himself over Christmas, being left behind without any explanation from his family, he's kind of into it. Because the last thing he said to his mom is that he wishes they would all go away because he was sick of the way they were treating him, like his big brother Buzz. He's a bully. He's a jerk. And just a house full of 9, 10 people, whatever it is, it's a bunch of people just running everywhere. And it leads to him being left behind and all the confusion. There's lots of little things that are seeded throughout that go, oh, okay, because I kind of forgot. Like, how could you just forget your kid? And it's been a long time since I've watched this. But how can you forget your kid when you have a big trip coming up? Yes, the power went out overnight, and there's all sorts of there's mistaking some other kid for Kevin when they're not looking, and it's just there's a whole bunch of little things that build up that create the whole mess that leaves Kevin home by himself, leaving him to fend himself in his home off against two somewhat inept burglars. They're successful in taking and robbing a number of different residences in the area. They're the Wet Bandits, played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern makes themselves the Wet Bandits by turning on all the faucets in the home, and then just before they leave, they're just making the house, basically just ruining the house. Just overflowing faucets. So yeah, he thinks he's clever, but when they meet Kevin, well, they've met their match because Kevin has little else to do other than watch TV, and he actually went grocery shopping on his own. They figured he can't do anything by himself. He can't pack his own suitcase. Is he gonna, what kind of kid is gonna be able to survive on his own without his family to do everything for him? Well, Kevin shows that he's resourceful, and like I said, it must be that MacGyver. Like she had an affair with MacGyver in the early 80s. I checked MacGyver to see if she ever appeared on there in a guest role. I don't think she did, but it would have been really cool to find that episode and see if they made out or something. And then Kevin shows up a year later, and 1990, he's 8 years old and fighting off criminals with some pretty sophisticated, some pretty complicated bits of trickery. Some of it, is just a paint can on a rope that he just swings down and knocks them off their feet. It's big and comedic. It's Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. It's it's Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote for the most part. But he has some access to some pretty dangerous stuff, whether it's heating up the doorknob, it's just super hot when they touch it, to predicting that, how they'd move through the house. Yes, it's the odds of a kid being able to do all this and plan it out and figure it out on his own are slim, which is why my MacGyver theory works. But it's just in his genes. But no, it's a fantasy. It's it's a comedy, and so it shouldn't be taken too seriously at all. But it's good fun. So when you see Kevin McAllister going up against the Wet Bandits, it's a it's honestly not even 20 minutes of the last part of the film. It's about 27 minutes from the end of the film, and it lasts for almost 20 minutes till, and then there's the epilogue and everything else, and everybody comes together, and everything's resolved. So it's a pretty it's a short sequence, but for what it's worth, it's one of the most famous sequences in history. And yes, there's a lot of people, just like on the poster, who would look at Kevin and as like the most iconic like scream or scene from that movie. But I have to contend that Daniel Stern's scream when he has the tarantula on his face is my favorite like freak out of the entire movie. Like, these guys are yelling and screaming, falling over and hurting each other and stepping on nails and burning their hands and getting flamethrower, having their tops of their head flamethrowered off, and all sorts of crap that Kevin throws at them, and they're screaming in anguish, and they it's hilarious. In real life, it would just be terrifying probably, but it's hilarious in this situation. But Daniel Stern, when that tarantula is on his face, it's a higher pitched scream. It's just blood curdling, and the look in his face is astounding. So yeah, I think that might have actually been a real spider on his face when he did it. I don't know. You'll have to look that up. I should have looked that up. I did not. So yeah, this is a great movie. It's a classic movie. If somehow you have not seen this movie, I shouldn't really be spoiling it for anybody. But if you're looking at my video right now and going, "Oh, thank you for introducing me to Home Alone. I've never heard of it before," you're welcome. So it'd be weird, but maybe you're probably too young. I don't know if you should be watching anything I create, but hey, I try to keep it for all ages. So anyway, one of my favorite things about this film is one of the smaller moments, the one that sort of makes it not just a comedy, not just a heartfelt family drama with separation, where the kid thinks he doesn't need his family, and he realizes how much he takes them for granted, and everybody takes family for granted, even around the holidays, especially around the holidays sometimes, especially when you're separated far away from each other. One of the little moments is Kevin, earlier in the film, is told by Buzz that the neighbor guy who's always out there shoveling is this creepy old murderer who killed a bunch of people, and they never had enough evidence to convict him. So Kevin is just terrified of this neighbor guy. And in a little moment where they cross paths unexpectedly, he gets to know him. And I love the actor. His name is Robert Blossom. He plays Marley, and I love his voice. If in the scene he has with Kevin, the important scene that he has with Kevin, his voice is just so good. I can't really explain it. You have to hear it, and no offense to anybody else in this film, but I think he's probably the best actor in this group. I think he has a long history in Hollywood, but I haven't looked it up. But I see he's been in black and white films, so it means he's been around for a while, and he's an older guy. But his story, as compared to Kevin's story, it adds so much more emotional depth to this film, and he shows Kevin some things, and Kevin shows him some things that help them understand how important family is to each other. And that's the heart of the film. And yes, we all love the crazy antics with the booby traps and everything else, but I think what gives this a little bit more emotional depth than an 8-year-old Macaulay Culkin is his interaction with that old guy, that old neighbor next door. And yeah, and it resolves really nicely too. It has a nice little punch at the end that I think without it would have just been, oh hey, he survived an attack from burglars in a funny way, and now family is home and Christmas is happy, and you would have been like, oh well, Yay. But the Marley storyline is just, to me, really, really nice. So, yeah, so that's all I got to say about Home Alone. Tomorrow we have Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. So Kevin, I can't remember. It's been so, I think I've seen that movie even less than this one. And so long ago. So there's a really good chance that Kevin is to blame in this case. He just keeps getting out on his own. And New York City, I know my way around New York City, and man, I'd hate to be lost there. But I couldn't get lost, even drunk. But that's another story for another day. But Kevin is, as far as I remember, not drunk at all in Home Alone 2. Although he does run into a creep at some point. I won't say who. All right, I'll see you back here tomorrow on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge with Home Alone 2.